All right, so we got density, we got temperature. Temperature is making some velocity happen from buoyancy, but let's actually source velocity into the sim, where these objects are. So they're hot, they're sputtering, they're making smoke fly out of them. So let's have some velocity happen here. So to do that, let's just copy and paste one of these volume rasterized attributes, and we'll use the velocity of the actual particle sim. So you can turn this on if you want to see it, but doesn't really matter. But you can see these little trails. That is the V attribute, V for velocity. And there you go. So we'll type V. Now, what is this? What is that? How does that velocity? Well, it's trying to show us. It's trying to say, okay, I have volumes with values in them, and that's what I guess they look like. It doesn't look very good. Actually, first turn off velocity blur. We don't want the trails this time. We don't want to smear that. We don't need to anyway. You could though. We can also put the coverage scale back to 1. We'll keep everything else the same. So what is this actually? I like to do a volume slice. Whing. So now we're seeing it as color. So the XYZ velocity is showing up as RGB. And then trail, or rather volume trail. Take the slice that we just made as the input and the volume that we made as the second input. And now you can see we've got some velocity trails, like so. They're not that interesting, but they are showing the direction that things are going in. So let's start with that. So this is just the visualization. So just keep that off to the side over here. We don't want it to go through this density breakup thing, but we do want it to get down here. So merge them together. Now, unfortunately, it looks like this. We don't want that. So let's use a volume visualizer to define what this looks like. And we can just say the density field is just the density. The velocity fields, which are still here, you can see the V vector velocity field is still there. We just don't see it anymore. We don't have this boxy look to it anymore. The reason why you don't see it over here is that these values are negative. The velocity going to the left in the negative x direction is negative. So it's not showing it as density because they're negative density values. So anyway, just keep this on. And now in here, oops, I'm not on the first frame. Go back to the first frame. This was already set up to read velocity in. So what does that look like? Whoa, crazy. I'm also going to turn off this active area thing. We don't need to see this anymore. We can trust that it is in fact running a sparse sim. So a lot of velocity coming in. It's not wrong, but it's too much. I don't want that much. So I'm just going to say, hey, how about half of that? So definitely a little more under control now. I'm going to say 1/10 of it. Oops. That's looking pretty good. Because I want my streaking to largely stay in place. But now with some velocity and some temperature, it's starting to look cool. Very good. So that's nice. We can noise up our volume as well. There's a few ways of doing this. I'm just going to say, well, we'll look at it this way. I'm going to say let's use a volume VOP again. And we're going to do a noise thing again. But this time, and let's actually make sure you hook both of these, or rather, yeah, let's hook both of these into this, and this into this. And I'm going to say, in here, let's view, let's have the display be on this. Let's find a nice one to look at. So there we go. So jump in here. It's reading the density in. Let's not do that. Let's just grab the one we want. So v is the one that we want. It's a vector type. So now we're reading the velocity volume in. And if we export, bind export, we can export it in the same way. V, which is a 3 float thing. And there you go. From input to output, it looks the same. We didn't change anything. Let us use an anti-alias noise again, though. Anti-alias noise in the same manner as before. Vector to vector 4. We go position, time, input. This time, though, we want a 3D noise to come out the other side of this. And we can say, let us maybe just add that to the velocity. It's only going to do it in the areas where there is velocity in the first place. And there you go. We didn't see much happen, though. We can increase the amplitude on this. You can see now it's starting to break it apart. Once again, you know, do whatever you want here to make it look cooler. I'm going to do another frequency of 2 to get the details to be a little bit smaller. I think roughing it up is also good, which it makes it more jagged a little bit. We might even go like twice as high with this amplitude. Yeah. If you wanted to just see what this looked like, we could just not add it. You can see it is going in every direction. But we want to add it so it's still predominantly going in the direction that it was going in. It's just being noised up in addition. And there you go. So now we have a more interesting velocity field. And make sure that that's actually what's being brought into over here. I would just mention also while we're here, there is a node called volume velocity, which is a perfectly good thing to use as well. If you wanted to look at that, you can see it here. Volume velocity can do things like curl noise pretty easily, like so. Really no reason not to use it. I'm kind of just used to doing it this other way. But it is kind of nice to just use a pre-made node. It just has the similar kind of things under the hood. But you might as well use it. I mean, there's no reason not to, I suppose. Grain it up, change the size of it. It's pretty cool. I just wanted to use it this way. I like to use VOPs and things. But there you go. You got options. So we'll put this one back over here, though. And I'll delete this one. Cool. So once again, it turns the visibility of it off in the viewport, but it's still there. And if we come here, get out of here, Duolingo. I wonder if that showed up on the record. I'm learning German. I've been learning for 6 months now. Anyway, so there you go. So now we can see all that extra volume or velocity that's being thrown into there is making it look really cool now. So that's cool. For some reason, even when you have the like high quality lighting with shadows on, it doesn't show up in the dynamics mode. I don't really know why. So if we dop import fields, which you'll recall from the earlier lessons, we can say this is the dop network we wanted, the smoke object is what we wanted, and choose smoke from here. And now it imports those fields back out, and now you can see the shadows on it. So again, if you go in here, we lose the shadows. I don't really know why that is. So that's cool. We also lose our visualization settings and things. I mean, this one creates some new ones where it says the velocity is invisible and we're only seeing this density of smoke. But it can be nice to make our own volume visualizer. And then we can like play with the density some more even. So if I say this is density, I can, you know, scale it if I want to. It might look nice like this. Scaled to 4. So we're really getting somewhere now, aren't we? Cool.